Welcome to a Legendarium special about William Price, the Doctor-Turned-Druid of Victorian Britain. In this episode, we will learn about a Welsh doctor who was ahead of his time in many ways, but is mainly remembered for his highly eccentric behavior. Born on March 4th, 1800 near Caerphilly in Wales, Price became the fifth child of the Reverend William Price, an Oxford graduate who married an illiterate maid. His father wanted William to enter the church, but the young man wanted to become a doctor. Accordingly, his father apprenticed William to a local surgeon, Dr. Evan Edwards, at 13 years of age. After the death of his father, Price enrolled himself at St. Bart's in London during the year 1820. He passed his examinations in just 12 months, an astonishing achievement, and became a member of the Royal College of Surgeons before the age of 22. After further study in anatomy and physiology, he returned to Wales to live and work in 1821. In 1827, he moved to Natgar, just up the valley from Cardiff, and became surgeon to the Iron Master Francis Crawshay. A strain of eccentricity, even madness, ran in the Price family. This began to show itself in Price's dress. He wore a white tunic with green trousers and a red waistcoat, all decorated with runic symbols. He also wore a fox skin headdress with the legs and tails hanging down over his shoulders and back. Price also began wearing his hair in long plaits. During these early years, he had the rather upsetting habit of racing, stark naked, over the hills around Pontypridd. Unorthodox in professional and personal life, William Price refused to take payment from his patients until he cured them, and when Price treated men from the local chairworks, he took weekly deductions from their salaries so they could more easily afford his services. The eccentric doctor also rejected bleeding and purging, common medical practices at the time, which tended to weaken patients. Instead, Price argued that a vegetarian diet would help more than anything else. Unfortunately, Price also began refusing to treat patients who would not give up smoking. Price also rejected orthodox thought on marriage, believing it did nothing but enslave women. He did, however, believe in free love and fell out with his father's church after fathering several illegitimate children. Determined to better his eccentric's credentials, Price became fascinated by the old druidic rites and even held druidic ceremonies at the rocking stone outside Pontypridd. He even began building a druidic temple in the area, infuriating local Methodists so much that they accused him of trespassing to get him out of their hair. Most dangerously, William Price became a supporter of Chartism. This radical working-class movement called for giving the vote to all men, secret ballots, and abolishing property qualifications for office. Some accounts claim that Price attended Chartist meetings in a cart pulled by a pair of goats. Having moved to the town of Lantrasant, he became the leader of the Pontypridd and District Chartist group. In this office, he helped the Chartists obtain firearms, something that could be bad for the doctor's health. After the disastrous Chartist march on Newport in 1839, Price fled to France. Legend declares that he left dressed as a woman and that a police officer assisted him in getting up the gangplank of his ship. This story is unlikely, but still entertaining. Price lived in Paris for several years before returning to the Pontypridd region in 1846. Price did so because he believed a stone gave him a prophecy that he would free Wales from British rule. At least he's home. As Price gained more followers, he began carrying a walking staff engraved with figures and letters, his fox fur hat, and emerald green clothing. Unsurprisingly, Price had to again flee to the continent in 1860 when the local court issued a warrant for his arrest, for he refused to pay a fine. This time his exile lasted for 5 years. By the time he returned, the Reform Act of 1867 wrote most Chartist demands into law. Returning to Wales and Llantrisant, Price promptly took his 16-year-old housekeeper, Gwenllian Llywelyn, as his mistress. Despite his advanced age, he was 83 years old by then, he fathered a son by Gwenllian, naming him Ishu Grist, Welsh for Jesus Christ. When Ishu died in 1884, aged only 5 months, Price cremated Ishu's body on an open pyre in a field near Llantrisant. Whether the good doctor opposed traditional Christian burial or whether he was more interested in ancient druidic rituals is not known. What is clear that, dressed in his flowing druid's robes, he timed the cremation to coincide with the end of chapel services in the town so that all of the Methodists saw what he did. As Price likely expected, the local people became wild with indignation at what they saw as rank sacrilege. They attacked Price and only failed to assault Gwenllian because of a pack of large dogs that Price kept in his home. Nonetheless, the authorities arrested and charged William Price. In a sensational trial held in Cardiff, Price gave an impassioned speech about the environmental benefits of cremation. Apparently impressed, Justice Stevens acquitted Price, who promptly returned home to finish his son's cremation. This decision led to the passage of the Cremation Act, which legalized the burning of bodies in Britain. After fathering several more children with Gwenllian, Dr. William Price neared the end of his days. In his final days, Price and his family organized the funeral, even selling tickets. After Price's death on January 23, 1893, his family cremated his remains in front of many thousands, some estimates being as high as 20,000 spectators. According to local lore, the pubs in Llantrisant ran out of ale for the first and only time in the community's history. Mourners heaped up several tons of coal and wood beneath the corpse to make it burn more effectively and spectacularly. After the show finally ended, the people of Llantrisant erected a statue in Price's honor. It depicted him standing tall, wearing a long beard, and dressed in a fox skin headdress. That wraps things up for this episode of the Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.